Good.
Kaf.
Kaf bet. So there is a seal and a seal within a seal. The seal is that the tzaddik rebukes us, meaning he teaches us how to do tshuva in a certain matter, and yet he's praying for us on our behalf from Hashem. So that's the seal.
So the seal is something quote unquote manifested physically to us.
There's also a seal within a seal, which is what? The thing that you have in your hands, literally. Emunah. Rav Nachman says the concept of hands is always the concept of emunah. So like this. Even though the tzaddikim are able to seal up the decree that Hashem makes on us, because there's only one seal, the other side is still able to try and bring that decree down. But the only way to make sure 100% that the decree never materializes in a way of suffering, in a way of trauma, in a way of harsh difficulties for us, we have the capability to make a seal within a seal by having complete emunah in Hashem and in the tzaddikim. So therefore, when the tzaddik rebukes you and you believe him that he's right, with complete emunah, you nullify your own mind and you take the wisdom of the tzaddik as truth, then you make a double seal.
Good. Why?
So it means, like, for instance, let's say you take Rav Shalom Arush's book on the Garden of Peace, right? There are people who they read that book to get advice about making their relationship better. But then there are people who they get that advice and they nullify themselves completely to it. They stop arguing with their wife 100%. Anything that she says, he approves. And any problems that he has, he brings back to Hashem. Now that's not many people, okay? But there are some people like that they completely nullify themselves to his advice. One second. When a person just takes the advice, so then that person, the tzaddik who's giving the advice, is creating a seal. By him writing the book, that's a seal for the Jewish people. But when we take the advice and we receive it with no questions whatsoever, with complete ebunah, that this is the Ratzon of Hashem, this creates a seal within a seal, and it protects you from all harsh difficulties. Does that make sense? Like, for instance, if, let's say I teach you tonight that Rav Nachman says all your problems are going to go away if you do 1 hour of Yibodah do today. Let's just say. Eventually, over time. So now, that teaching that I gave you, that's called rebuke. And that's actually the tzaddik looking out for you because he's praying for you in Shemayim, but he's teaching you this Torah through my mouth. That's the seal. However, that seal still is dangerous. Why? Because the Sitra Achra can still grab hold of the seal. But if you take those words that I teach you from Rav Nachman, and is the other side, evil in the world, and you nullify yourself to that Eitzah and you do it 100%, no questions asked, as if Hashem taught it to you, you have a seal within a seal, and you're protected completely.
Seal within a seal is like enough time?
Ben, we need to wait till the end of the class. Okay, so you have to get it.
I got it.
So we said like this.
Did you ask Hashem for a pen or paper?
The seal is the level of the feet, that comes from the tzaddikim. But the seal within a seal comes from your hands, that's your amunah. We see that when the golden calf happened, Moshe went up to pray for us, that's the feet. But how did the whole golden calf start? It says that Aaron took the gold from their hands. Why does the Torah say from their hands? Just say he took the gold from them. And the Zohar says that if he would have thrown the gold down on the ground for 1 second, he would never have built the golden calf. But because he took it straight from their hands, he built the golden calf.
So you're telling me that Aaron, Cohen, built the golden calf?
Yes. With the gold from their hands. And what was the source of the issue? It's from their hands. Why? Because their amunah in Moshe was lacking. Because their amunah in the tzaddik was lacking, the seal within a seal was not there. And therefore, Moshe can only do so much for the Jewish people, and it ended up devolving and materializing in the golden calf. So the answer is like this. What happens when we have complete emunah in tzaddikim? tzaddikim, Rav Nachman said, are tapped into something called Shiva Roim. This is the 7 shepherds that we let into the sukkah. They are all of the Torah of Hashem brought down by the truest tzaddikim that lived. Yeah, the personification. They draw down that level of Torah for us through those 7 shepherds. When you have complete Amunah in tzaddikim, you're able to taste the advice of the 7 shepherds. And only those 7 shepherds, those 7 shepherds can actually fix your faith. When your Amunah is rectified, pencil? No problem. When your Amunah is rectified, it's only rectified through the 7 shepherds. Only on the level of these 7 shepherds of the Jewish people can this thing called Amunah be completely rectified. No more distractions. Thank you. This is why Moshe is called the faithful shepherd. Because he's a shepherd. He's a shepherd that rectifies your faith. That's why he's called the faithful shepherd. The basic understanding of faithful shepherd is that he's faithful to the Jewish people and he shepherds them. Rav Nachman says, read it, that he is the shepherd who shepherds or creates or cultivates your faith. So therefore, through complete Amunah to real tzaddikim, you tap into Moshe Rabbeinu, David HaMelech, Aaron HaKohen, Avraham Avinu, X, Y, and Z. Amunah in the tzaddikim. Complete Amunah, and what is complete Amunah? That you nullify your own seichel, you take theirs, and you live your life physically according to their advice.
And now it says, they say right is left and left is right.
Yes, that's that. When you get to that level, which Rav Natan had in Rav Nachman, then Rav Natan is no longer getting Torah from Rav Nachman, he's actually getting it from the 7 shepherds.
Wow.
Rav Nachman says it's impossible to get to these shepherds and it's impossible to get to this tzaddik except through holy chutzpah. You need very, very intense boldness. Intense. There's no word for chutzpah. That's why Jews only say chutzpah. Even if they speak English, they still say chutzpah because there's no English word for it.
Nerve.
Nerve. When you have nerve. Nerve.
Nerve for nothing.
Yeah. What?
Disgrace. Chutzpah.
No. Chutzpah is like, imagine like you came here and you just started teaching the class. You just like completely threw me aside and just started teaching them Spanish. That would be chutzpah. It's not your place to do such a thing. So the Gemara says the last generation is going to be full of this type of chutzpah, and you see it. There's no.
The Gemara talking about times before the coming of Mashiach.
Yes.
When the old will stand and the young will sit.
Yes. We have no respect for elders. It says that the leaders of all of the different nations are going to be like the face of a dog. They're all going to be arrogant. They're not going to want to work with each other. There's not going to be any respect between peers. We see it. Okay? We have a true dog running our country. One of the dogs. Right? He's going to give it to you. Okay. But, and Rav Ginsburg teaches this also. All the Hasidic masters teach this. The way that we counter this chutzpah, which is from the other side, which is not good, is with holy chutzpah. What type of chutzpah is that? It is every type of sound that you use to come closer to Hashem and to reveal your soul. Meaning what? Screaming to Hashem, crying to Hashem, sighing to Hashem. All of these things are called holy chutzpah. Holy chutzpah. This is what we've done together so far. Everybody with me? You with me? You understood? A little bit? X, Y, Z? A little bit? Good. Focus. So now, listen to this. This lesson starts to become very, very interesting now. So I need you to really pay attention. This is a very famous concept of Rav Nachman. You hear many Hasidic masters talk about that Rav Nachman speaks about this. I've alluded to it in the past, but we never actually saw it inside. He says here, every person needs to have deep empathy for his body. A person needs to have very deep compassion and empathy for his goof. Laharot lo mikol hara umikol hasaga shanashama maseget, illuminating it with every insight and perception that your soul perceives. Every Jewish person needs to have great empathy and compassion on their body to share the goods. That whatever perceptions that your soul, your neshama receives from Hashem, from tzaddikim, you must share with your body, which he's showing us how to do it. Spilling it all over the body. You see? Hashgacha pratis. You're going to see in a second. That his body himself is able to perceive what his soul perceives. Yes, we're going to see what that means in a second. You must have great, he says, great empathy on your body so that your body can perceive what your soul perceives. So that everything that your soul perceives, your body is also able to perceive this. Like it says in Yeshaya, hide not from your own flesh, meaning don't hide your soul's perceptions from your body. And it says, Mibsarcha daika, specifically from your flesh. It's not poetic, Rav Nachman says, meaning your body. You can't hide what your soul knows from your body. Shalot alim einecha, milarachem al basarcha. Rather, you should have empathy for your body. Ayenu basar gufcha, meaning your goof, your flesh, your physical nature. Okay. How does a person show empathy for their physical body? You would think, I don't know, maybe by giving it Skittles.
Working out?
Maybe by working out. Okay, very good. Even better, right? I said something, giving into your taivas, maybe that's having rachamim for your body. David says maybe it's working out, increasing the strength and the vitality and the life force of your physical body. Rav Nachman says something interesting. He says, he has rachamim on his body by purifying it. So that his body is able to perceive everything that his soul is able to perceive. Listen to this is very deep. He says your soul is constantly perceiving transcendent godly perceptions of the Ein Sof. At every moment, your nefesh elokit, your godly soul, is having very deep, very intense perceptions of reality that transcend this physical universe. However, right? They all see it. But your body doesn't know these things.
Limits that.
Therefore, you need to have compassion on your body by letting your body experience what your neshama experiences. But you should know something. Because your body doesn't experience it, you don't consciously experience it. So to speak, there's you, there's your body, and there's your soul. Your soul experiences and sees everything. Like it says that even when you don't see, your mazal sees, meaning your neshama. However, your goof is the intermediary between your consciousness and your soul. So therefore, for you to be conscientious and to experience things that are transcendent, things that are divine, you must purify your body so that your body no longer is a barrier between you and your neshama.
You mean like some people who develop ruach hakodesh?
Yes, exactly.
That's how they do it?
Taking your body.
So Rav Nachman is saying that you're actually experiencing Ruach HaKodesh all the time. But because your body is not pure, you don't conscientiously experience it.
It's talking about purifying your body. It's talking about like having a clean mind.
We're going to see in a second. He should make sure that he purifies his body so that his soul is able to inform it of everything that she sees and comprehends. So I want to teach you something right now. It's very beautiful. Hashem gave me a nice hiddush. It says in the Zohar something which the Tanya speaks a lot about and is famous for, which is, why did Hashem create the world? To create a dwelling place below. Most people know this. Chabadniks say it all the time. It says it in the Zohar. A dwelling place below. Meaning, on a simple level, Hashem exists outside of reality, above reality, and Hashem wanted to exist in the lowest, most physical place, even though He is completely spiritual. This is, so to speak, His big chiddush. I want to be so great, I want to be so amazing, that I want to be able to exist in a place that's completely contrary to my reality.
Yeah, but Hashem is closed. You can't see Him anywhere.
But He's here.
But is it true that Hashem created the world to reveal His divine compassion?
So the same thing. That compassion is Him. But He can only reveal that, we're going to see in a second, when we do what we need to do here. So now I want to teach you like this. The Gemara says every person is a world. So if we understand that, then we can understand something very deep and very practical and very relevant to each and every one of us. When it says that Hashem wants to make a dwelling place below, so we need to take that macrocosm and bring it to the micro, which is that your godly soul, which is a piece of Hashem, wants to have a dwelling place below, meaning in your body.
Mind and body.
That's why.
You got excited, right? It's unbelievable.
No, that's why I tell everybody to stop smoking.
I know.
Where do you think this came from? Shamai, my friend.
Shots fired.
Amigo.
Meaning like this. Besides the fact that Hashem wants to dwell in the world below, you have a piece of you that's godly, that's from God. That's your nefesh elokit. Your nefesh elokit, its whole existence in this world is to dwell in your body. That's the same exact relationship as Hashem to the world as the soul within your body.
What does that mean?
The Gemara says it. David HaMelech says, just like your soul can't be seen, Hashem can't be seen. But just like your soul can see, Hashem can see. Just like Hashem fills the world, your soul fills your body. There's many examples that David gives.
How are you a piece of Hashem? When Hashem is unlimited, and yet you're limited.
That's the whole path. That's
what I'm saying. Like,
it's something you can't understand.
He said that
It's in the Gemara. It's in Brachot. He talks, there's a very deep chiddush about all the parallels between the soul and the body and God and the world.
It's still like poetry.
It's not poetry.
Well, you said it was like
No. He's saying this is a literal parallel. There's a literal parallel. So I'm trying to bring this down for you guys. This whole lesson that Rav Nachman's teaching now about having empathy for your body so that your soul can illuminate your body is fulfilling the teaching of the Zohar to make a dwelling place below for Hashem. That dwelling place below is your body. I just told you something very deep, okay?
So we need to bring Hashem into our body.
Yes.
Even though Hashem's already in your body.
So by the tzaddikim, they're already there, so they're holding by that point where they could have Hashem be in their body?
Yes, they are experiencing their soul in their body, and that's why they have a diminished sense of appetite for physical things, because they're experiencing something higher than that. That's why they're able to see things in the future, because their body is now...
They have the most titles, tzaddikim.
So titles for Hashem.
No, they start with the most titles.
So maybe they start like that, but they don't finish like that. So one second. Wait. This isn't a running conversation between me and you. I would like it to be. It's not though, okay? when the body is in this category, meaning that your body has become a dwelling place for your soul, and that your soul is giving over its perceptions to your body, it's not just that your soul is benefiting your body then becomes a benefit for your soul. How is that? Because there are times when your soul falls from its level. However, if the body is clear and pure, then the soul is capable of picking herself back up and returning to her level because of the body. Here's something very deep. What? Yeah.
So if a person's physically ill, then what happens?
1 second. Wait. If a person has purified his body, we're going to see in a second, it doesn't mean that he doesn't have any physical illness. It means something else. When he has purified it, it's not just that the soul, you're having compassion for the body. It's the body, it's also good for you now. Right? Usually, the soul and the body have complete contrasting interests, and that's why you have lack of peace in your body and in your soul. You have lack of peace within yourself because your soul and your body are moving towards different things. But when your body becomes a vehicle for your soul, which is you having compassion on your body by making your body into a vehicle for your soul. I'm looking for a word and I can't. Chariot? Okay. I want this word, but I can't get it. Okay. When it becomes that, then your body also carries your soul. So that when your soul falls, your body is able to let it come back higher. That is, through the pleasures of the body, the soul is able to recall and ascend to her own pleasures. For now, the body is also good and right. It doesn't get trapped in physical pleasures. Thus, the soul is capable of returning by means of the pleasures of the body. What is he saying right now? He's saying something very deep. He's saying like this. You normally, your body has very intense physical pleasures. Desires for physical pleasures. For sex. For food, for drinks, for sleep. All of these things your body has an intense attraction and desire for. When you have compassion for your body, you have empathy for your body, you do everything you can to nullify the noise in your body. That the desire in your body for those things should diminish in intensity. And then what happens is, when your body desires those things, once they're purified, then your soul is reminded of what it wants.
That's what throwing the money on the floor was? And if they just if he just threw the thing on the floor?
Ooh, nice. I like it. We'll have to think about it. We'll have to hold on it, okay? Likewise, by means of the lasting impression which the body has, because of this illumination, the soul can now return to its level. And that's why it says, a very famous pasuk, Mi psari echeza Eloha. From my flesh I'll see God. So many people read this again as poetic, but David HaMelech is giving you a very, very deep secret. David's saying, I worked on myself a lot in my life to nullify my taivot. And now my body perceives God. From my flesh I see God.
It's also transformation. Able to do that. Just have to make it reach that level.
That's right.
So how can he see Hashem from his flesh if it's his spirit?
So the whole point is that your physicality,
The body has to serve your soul, basically.
Yes. A simple way.
Obstructing your view of Hashem.
Yes, exactly. Your body is like a cup. Your body is like a cup.
It's a perfectly good cup.
It was a perfect cup. Now it's going to be an even better cup. 1 second. I'm like an artiste right now.
I
didn't know you spoke French.
Okay, ready?
The clear one.
No, they're drinking this.
Wow, this was used for Chiddush in Torah. Not even to drink. It's Givaldic.
Ready?
The camera can't see it.
That's trippy.
Okay. Imagine the cup is your body, and imagine this inside is perceptions of God. Actual perceptions of Hashem. Now, you poured the godliness in. This is a completely impurified body. It's wasting seed. It's eating beyond what it needs. It's drinking beyond what it needs. It's constantly thinking about its physical desires. As a result of that, even though their soul is perceiving God at every moment, this is what they see. Do you guys see any soda here? No. Now, when a person becomes Baal Tshuva, you're going to learn in a minute, he starts to go through many difficulties. As soon as a person becomes Baal Tshuva, he starts to go through many difficulties. Rav Nachman speaks about this probably more than any other tzaddik, and it gives you a lot of chizuk, because it's real. That when a Baal Tshuva becomes Baal Tshuva, he starts to suffer tremendously from many different things. Why is that? We're going to see later on in this Torah that your Yetzer Hara has been feeding off of you your whole life. You've been feeding it Shefa. It's been misplaced and given over to the Sitra Achra. And therefore it's very happy, so it does not bother you. However, when you become Baal Tshuva, and it's concerned now that you're going to reappropriate those funds to your soul and not to your desires, it then starts to cause you problems. That problem is actually a good thing. Because what's going to happen from these problems, they're going to purify you. Because you're going to have no choice. You're not going to get better. The problems won't get better until you become more pure. Working on your nullifying your physical desires. When that happens, then you still won't perceive it clearly, but you'll start to have hints of godliness. Start to have waves of it. And as you work on yourself more, it's going to become more intense for you. And when you get to the level of the tzaddik, then your body is almost exactly perceiving what your soul perceives. There's this little tiny barrier, but it's very, very minute, it's very ethereal, it's very thin, it's very intangible. Does that make sense?
Beautiful.
Got it. Okay.
If someone, before they become Baal Teshuva, is like a real Baal Taiva, is they gonna like experience much more suffering when they become Baal Teshuva?
Yes. I'm going to explain. And I'm in the category, don't worry.
That also means you'll have a higher revelation of Hashem.
In the end, if he keeps moving. What? Yes, they can. Through a lot of hard work.
That's why it says the tzaddik falls 7 times. Because the tzaddik falls 7 times because he sins more than anyone else. He just uses his sins to bring himself up.
We're going to talk about all these things. I see we're hitting on a lot of nice nerves over here.
You mentioned about the flesh.
No questions right
I'm
now.
trying to
Yeah.
understand something about the flesh. What exactly we're talking about the flesh? By the flesh, I see Hashem.
Yeah, there's a pasuk in Eov. It says, "From my flesh I see God." Meaning, from my flesh I see God. When do I see God from my flesh? After Eov had suffered tremendously in his life.
Then he sees Hashem through his
And only then he saw through his flesh.
In a what? In a what? In a way that he saw into his flesh?
And then he was able to perceive God through his body.
The stuff that you were saying is that
1 second. And what does that mean through my body? Meaning you're now conscientious of God all the time. It's not that your body perceives and then your soul. What is all of that? Your body is your natural consciousness. Your soul is your subconscious.
working out purifies the body, right?
Yes.
So you know how right after you work out you get that feeling like you're really in touch? Like, is that what that is?
Yeah, but it's more intense than that. It's even more intense than that. He's starting to have somewhat of a feeling right now. Okay. Everybody, wait 1 second. Are you guys with me? Okay. But when the body possesses azut, so Rav Nachman is going to take, what did we say before? That when a person has chutzpah, then he's far from the tzaddik. Right? He's far from true tzaddikim. The same goes that you have a tzaddik within yourself that's called your godly soul. And your body is far from it when your body has chutzpah, meaning it's sunken in desires. That's the concept of chutzpah within the body. Your body's physical desires is called chutzpah. And you need to nullify that to find your tzaddik, meaning your godly soul, and to come into contact with it. Thus, it is necessary to have holy boldness. What does holy chutzpah do? It breaks your body. It breaks your desires. This is why the Gemara says, Anacha shoderet gufo shel adam. Sighing breaks the desires of man. It breaks the body of man. This is why Rav Nachman says in many places it's a very good thing to sigh to Hashem. Sigh. Like let's say for instance, you really are working on not wasting seed. You really don't want to see anything. But all of a sudden, a certain lady walks by you and you look up by accident and you happen to see her and everything starts to awaken within you. Right? And you go home and you want to stop thinking about this. You don't want to think about this anymore, but you can't think about anything else. What should you do then? That's the called brazenness of the body. That brazenness is getting in the way of you experiencing God. You need to have some type of holy sound in order to break that. What is a holy sound that breaks that? Either crying, sighing, screaming, or praying to Hashem intensely. These are the different ways in which to break that. I can tell you personally from my experience, I'm telling you this is true. To break your physical taivas, there's no way except for these things I just told you. Through sighing, through crying, through screaming, through praying intensely to Hashem. There's no way to do it otherwise. They're the only things that break the body's desires. Just like the Gemara says, why did Hashem create thunder? To instill fear within the person. And Rav Nachman teaches that these holy sounds are the concept of thunder. Because Yira is what stops you from moving forward with the Avera, from moving into your desire. So you need to create your own holy thunder in order to break your body at that moment, to bring fear into yourself. So for instance, last night, I had a nice dinner. I didn't eat more than I needed to. I stopped. I came to the class. I'm in the class. I'm teaching you guys. And as soon as I'm done teaching, and this always happens to me at night, I start to get really hungry. But I know I can't be hungry because I just ate. And I ate a good meal. So what do I know that this is? This is the chutzpah of my body that's waking up.
Empty carbs.
No. There was no empty carbs. It was a good meal, solid meal, healthy according to all paleo standards. Okay? According to all naturalists, I ate good. Okay? Swell. Wondrous. I knew it was matayvus from a body. Okay? So what did I do? I was here, you guys probably saw me, didn't realize what I was doing. I said, Hashem, I don't want to eat any food. Don't let me eat any food when I go home. I did it. For 3 years now, I have to eat something as soon as I go home. This is probably the first night in the longest time that I can remember I didn't eat anything. How? I took the advice of the tzaddik. I nullified my mind and I took his advice. Do I really believe on paper that makes sense? That's going to work? That's going to help me? No. But everything that Rav Nachman says works, so I did it. When you do this, you will also break it. Daniel has told us personal stories about himself.
Billions.
In one specific taiva, he said he was never able to overcome it except through intense tears. Crying, and fasting. All of this is the breaking of the body. Rav Nachman says, through Hibodedut, you don't need to fast. You can just do it through very intense prayer. And he said if you would have known that, he never would have fasted to begin with, because his health declined as a result. One second. Because what's going on is like this. Every one of us has a godly soul. That godly soul is completely unlimited. That is the source of peace in your life. That is the source of happiness in your life. It's the source of parnasa in your life. It's the source of everything that you want in your life is your soul. Because that's a piece of God. It's unlimited goodness. However, your neshama needs to constantly assess your body and saying to itself, do I want to come close to my body now? Because the issue is that if the soul comes close to the body, but the body is like this, then the soul can fall very far. It doesn't want to. So instead, what it does is, it exiles itself. By exiling itself, it causes you to yearn to improve. And through that improvement, your body becomes more pure, and then your soul wants to dwell with your body. So to speak, when you are filled with taivas, with desires, you are exiling your soul from your body. That's why you don't experience God in those moments. And now we can understand why it says about Adam Rishon, when Hashem took Adam and he put him into the garden. And we had the question, what does it mean he took him and put him into the garden? He didn't take him from anywhere. He created him in the garden. So where did he take him from? The Zohar says he took him from his desires. Meaning that when he had transcended his physical taivas, he was automatically in the garden.
Oh, and Adam was the Gilgal that became David, who transcended his physical taivas.
Yes. And that part of... Right, he created him with those physical desires. He took him from those desires and placed him in the garden.
What desires could he have had?
Any physical desires which he had.
He wasn't physical.
To whatever degree they were physical. The Zohar says clearly he had desires that were obstructing his perception of pure godliness. Hashem took him from those desires and placed him in the garden.
But in order to have desires, you need to have Eitz Hara.
So this is a question for another
They
time.
didn't have Eitz Hara.
Yes, they did. Bro,
I like
they
it. It's
did.
good.
Yes, very good. Very good. I hear what you're saying.
You're good, bro.
Yeah, we're going to have to address the question later, but just take the Zohar at face value. The Zohar says clearly this is what happened.
Right. Whenever Adam Rishon was created, he had a desire to go to the next level, to the fifth level. He had a desire, he had some desire.
Yes, he had some level of free will. It's for another time. I don't want to get into it right now. This is not about Adam in the garden, okay? I'm just trying to bring you that Adam Rishon is all of us. Meaning, as soon as any of us is able to purify our body, then you are placed in the garden. Because Gan Eden is Shabbat, and it says about Tzaddikim that Tzaddikim don't experience Shabbat just on Shabbat, they experience it all week. It says in the Noam Elimelech. In the Noam Elimelech, he says that it's
One of the Baal
main students.
He had a brother also.
He was a contemporary of the Baal Tanya.
What's his name?
The Noam Elimelech.
He sat at the table with the Baal Shem Tov?
He learned from the Maggid of Mezrich. Okay? Most people thought at the time that he was alive, the Baal Shem Tov passed it down to Maggid of Mezrich, and who was up next? It was the Noam Elimelech. Most people at that time held like that. Later on now, we do reconstructionist history. Some people say it's the Baal Tanya, some people say it's Rabbi Nachman, but at the time, everybody said for sure it's the Noam Elimelech. Who's next? He said that on Shabbat, what you experience, Tzaddikim experience all week.
What did they experience on Shabbos?
Something that you can never imagine.
You just blew
Yes,
my mind.
or this. That's, he took him from the garden, placed him in the garden. Okay, good. Now, this is the pasuk that David HaMelech says, Mikol anchati davka atzmi livsari. From the sound of my sighing, my bone clung to my flesh. And the word bone, which means etzem, also means your essence, which is your soul. Meaning my soul clung to my body. And we said that when you break your body, when you break your desires, then your soul desires to be with your body. And it allows it to perceive what the soul perceives. And that's why it says, when I sighed, my soul clung to my body, my bones clung to my body. So you see it's mefurash, it's explicit in this Tehillim, this Pasuk in Tehillim. This is because man's principal essence, which we call ani, is the neshama. So when David was saying I sighed, it means the soul was sighing, and because the soul sighed, then the soul was able to come close to the body. But because of the brazenness of your body, the desires, it is distant from its flesh. However, with the sighing, with the crying, with the praying to Hashem, with intensity, you break your desires. This is one of the big reasons why Rav Nachman says you need to do Hibodedut an hour a day, because Hibodedut nullifies your desires. When a person does Hibodedut, you can clearly feel after the hour that your physical desires have decreased in intensity. Anybody who does Hibodedut will tell you the same thing. No matter if they learn Torah all the time or they never learn Torah in their life, by the end of an hour of doing real Hibodedut, you will feel that your physical desires diminish greatly.
Did you say that
we have to wait on the questions. We have to wait on the questions. We'll get there. I'm going to leave questions. I'm going to leave time. Just keep it in your mind.
Be brazen.
Listen to what Nachman's going to bring now. Something unbelievable. Listen to this. He said this is the concept of the shofar blast. Listen to what he says here. Yeah. From the sound of my sighing is the concept of the shofar blast. Why? Because it breaks man's body. Like it says, shall a shofar be blasted, sounded in the city, and a person not be afraid? Meaning a person is only able to come to the seven shepherds, the true tzaddikim, which are going to bring you everything you want in your life, only through the shofar blast. Why is that? Let's look at the three sounds: tekiah, shavarim, trua. The first is tekiah. This is the sound of boldness. Meaning what? It's when you break your body with sounds, that's tekiah. When you cry, when you pray with intensity, when you sigh, when you scream to Hashem, this is tekiah. This leads to shvarim, which comes from the word shever, which means to break. It means it breaks your physical desires. So tekiah is the sounds, the holy sounds that come out of your mouth. That's the shofar blast. Then you have shavarim, which is the breaking and diminishing of your physical desires. And then you have trua, which means you tira'eh my people. You shall tend my people, meaning you shall shepherd my people. The final step, that the tzaddik is able to shepherd you now, which really means that your soul is able to shepherd your body. Yeah? It's an unbelievable thing. Tekiah, shvarim, trua. Tekiah, I cry out to Hashem. This nullifies my... Then shvarim, my physical desires are lessened. And then I can attach myself to true tzaddikim who are able to guide me and draw from the seven shepherds. Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and David. And this brings your geula. This brings your redemption. All of this you can see with Abraham. It says he circumcised the flesh of their foreskin on that very day. And what's the word for very? Etzem, which we said means the essence. On that very day he circumcised the flesh. What did we learn in the last lesson? That in order to experience the truth, which is your godly soul,
self-sacrifice.
In order to experience the truth, your godly soul, you need to first make shalom. You need to first make peace. And we said that making peace, shalom, comes from Mesirat Nefesh. An act of Mesirat Nefesh. When you engage in an act of Mesirat Nefesh, then you're able to tap in to your godly soul. What's an example of Masir Nefesh?
Guarding the Brit.
Guarding the Brit.
Getting to the
When your body deeply wants to waste seed, and you go completely against your physical desires because you know that your neshama doesn't want this, this is called mamish Masir Nefesh, that you have sacrificed yourself. And by doing this, you're now able to tap into your neshama, your godly soul. Okay? What's another aspect of Masir Nefesh? We said giving tzedakah. When a person gives tzedakah, it also diminishes his tithas. Why is that? Because Rav Nachman teaches elsewhere that your soul and money come from the same place. So therefore, when you give of your money, you are actually sacrificing your soul. That's all. Yeah, which is a good thing.
great thing. I'll take a short
Which is called Masir Nefesh. It's called Masir Nefesh. But it's only a good thing when you give it to the right people. Because otherwise, who are you giving your soul to?
You don't know.
For another time. Good question. We discussed this before. This is for later, okay? But on a very preliminary level, when you give your money to somebody, you're actually giving a piece of your neshama. Okay. This diminishes your taivas. There was a very big Breslaver chassid. He was able to overcome his taiva for wasting seed, for almost everything that we all struggle with, but he could not overcome his taiva for food. He just couldn't. He could not do it. So it got to the point that he said, from now on, based on Rav Nachman's teachings, I'm going to give tzedakah every single time I sit down to eat. And only through this he was able to overcome his desire for food, for overeating.
Basically didn't eat all day.
No, he ate.
And he gives it.
No, meaning that he ate only what he needed to. Okay. No, I just don't want them to get confused.
Explain.
Okay. Why say on that day, on that very day that he was circumcised? Circumcised, Brit Milah, that's Masir Nefesh. That's Shalom. Okay? That's when he experienced God through the Brit Milah, which is, right, Masir Nefesh in the area of the Brit. From my flesh you'll see God. That was the Brit Milah. Why say on that very day? It says in Gemara, Masechet Rosh Hashanah, that the shofar should only be blasted during the day. So therefore the Brit Milah is like the shofar blast. Just like the Brit Milah is in order to diminish your taivas, so to the shofar blast is only to diminish your taivas. That's why it says on that very day, because only during the day are you supposed to blow the shofar. That's why you do the Brit Milah during the day.
Is that why we also went to this during the day?
It's a good question. We will see. That's why it says Hashem will answer you on your day of distress. Why on the day? Why not night? Why not the night of your distress? Because during the daytime you can hear the shofar blast. And Hashem answers you, meaning you experience Hashem speaking to you through your body when you nullify your desires, which is only through the shofar blast, meaning through your crying, through your sighing, through your praying intensely to Hashem. Then you will receive the light of the Etzem, which in this case he's not saying on that very day, he's saying Etzem, your essence. Okay.
Even though you didn't enjoy.
Something amazing, something interesting. It says here in the Perush that the shofar blast is the concept of the beginning of a person doing tshuva. That as soon as a person, a Jew, is awakened that he wants to do tshuva, he wants to be close to Hashem. That's what tshuva is, by the way. Right? Tshuva is so that's the English definition. That's not what it literally means. Tshuva means to return. What are you returning to? Who you are. How do you do that? By repenting.
Returning to yourself.
Meaning repenting is not what tshuva is, but you need to repent in order to do tshuva. Does that make sense? Tshuva is to return to who you are. So therefore, what does that? Conceptually, the beginning of that process for every Jew is called his shofar blast. Interestingly, I told you guys that I was an atheist for many years of my life.
Oh man.
And then,
I never knew.
And then I got a book.
Secret Life of God.
I got a book, The Secret Life of God. I read this book at night. And that night,
You were like, what the hell was I doing in my
that
entire
night,
life?
I realized that Hashem existed. I had an amazing, amazing experience. That I really experienced that God was real. That I was wrong. And I was very happy to be wrong because I was searching my whole life. Okay, good. Fast forward, some of you know this part of the story, some of you don't, but it's willing to say, it's worth saying here because it's very connected to the Torah that we're talking about right now. After I read this book and I realized that God existed, I couldn't sleep all night because I was so like excited, so amped up, juiced up, so shaken. And then I started to hear a very, very loud sound in my ears. And I thought it was from the fraternity next door because I live right next to a fraternity. It was in UCLA, it was right on campus. So I went out the window to look at the fraternity next door, and there was nobody there. It must have been a party at a different frat that night. So they probably all left. So the sound was not coming from there. So I figured it's coming from one of these frat houses around here. So I started closing all the windows to my apartment. But the sound was getting louder. And then I started to really freak out. And then I started to close my bathroom door. I started closing everything. And the sound was getting louder and louder and louder. And now I started really freaking out because I thought I was having an acid flashback. Really?
You sure there was no fumes over there?
Yeah, nothing. There's no
Wasn't
fumes.
bugging?
I don't know. It's California. You never know what's going on.
Raining, or it was like
I'll tell you in a second.
You were having those.
Wait.
A little bit of,
No, I didn't do anything. I was completely sober.
you know.
I had a sound. I didn't know what the sound was, but the sound was very intense. It was making me very scared, and it was very loud. And it was getting louder and louder and louder. I was so scared, so frightened, that I collapsed on the floor, and I put the blanket, or actually on the couch, I put the blanket over my ears, and I went like this, and I was waiting for it to end.
Did it work?
Eventually, it was getting louder, still. Mom just thought I was losing my mind. And then it stopped, just completely stopped. The next day, I told my future wife, I'm going to start keeping Shabbat.
just all of a sudden.
Instantaneously. Rav Kook says that there's two types of tshuva. There is instantaneous tshuva and there's gradual tshuva. He says most souls, and this is not like about you, it's a pre-programming. Hashem pre-programs every Jew's soul so that when he does tshuva, it's either gradual or it's instantaneous. Rav Kook, Rav Abraham Kook, he was a very big Ashkenazi Mekubal who was the chief rabbi of Israel. Okay. He says that there's two types of tshuva. There is a type of tshuva that's called instant tshuva. Some souls are pre-programmed that they're not holding by it at all, and then in one moment, as soon as they realize God exists, they start doing tshuva immediately. So this, I think, was me. I started keeping Shabbat instantaneously, and then soon after I started keeping kosher. So afterwards, months later, my wife showed me a video of a sound that people were hearing all around the world that they didn't know what the sound was. And I heard the sound and my body started to shake and I started to have goosebumps and I asked her, what's the sound? She looked at me, she's like, it's the shofar blast.
Isn't that like the video on YouTube of people
Look online, you can find it after.
hearing the shofar?
Yes, you heard it.
You heard about that?
Yeah. You can look it up. You can look it up on YouTube after. She said that's the shofar blast, and then I almost had a mental
They blow a lot
breakdown.
of shofars. Which shofar was it?
What?
They blow a lot of shofars. Which shofar blasting was it that you heard? That everybody heard?
What?
They blow a lot of shofars, right?
Yes.
Which shofar that they were blowing was the one that you heard?
What do you mean?
I thought that's what you heard.
I heard the shofar.
So which shofar blasting was the one that you heard?
Oh, it was.
No, I don't mean that. I mean in a lot of different shows they blow a lot of shofars.
You want to know what was the model of the shofar?
Where the shofar, the one that
I don't know where it came from. It came from God. I wasn't hearing it from a physical source. That was the whole point.
And they will
all
know.
the other people heard it like that too.
And they will know they blew the
You said on
shofar.
YouTube, there's a bunch of people that heard.
Certain people heard it on YouTube. You can hear it. Whatever
At
later.
the same time,
I'm not gonna put
editing.
I don't know if it's legit.
Different time.
Whatever it is, doesn't matter. That was the sound I heard. I need everybody to relax. Everybody's way too
Just look it
excited.
up on YouTube.
So much sun kiss.
I need everybody to take it down a notch, okay? Everybody shush! Shake it, b'bakasha! Wait. I started to do research into what the shofar means, and I saw this. The shofar is what Hashem blows for you when He wants you to come back. The shofar blows when He wants you to come back.
How come it doesn't blow every day?
It does, you just don't hear it.
It does, you just don't hear it. It does, you just don't hear it. Okay?
Was that day Rosh Hashanah or something like
That was my Rosh Hashanah.
But all the other people that heard it, it didn't hear it.
Nobody else
necessarily
heard it. Nobody else heard it there.
What about the people on YouTube?
They heard it, but I'm saying the people
That was a different time.
in my that was a different time, a different place. It was from years ago.
You'll hear it
This
too.
is how I am all the time. I don't know what you're talking
You'll
about.
hear it too.
Okay. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is like this. That was the shofar blast. I'm just trying to make it real for you guys that this concept is not just the concept brought down by Kabbalah. I literally experienced it. That was the beginning of my shofar. It goes on and it says like this. V'chen bichlaliut b'nei adam yesh bechinat etzem uvasar. There is a general category of human beings that they have the concept of essence or flesh, that they get their body to the point that they have nullified their taivot so much, that is, that their soul, which is called their tzaddik, starts to lead them. Because what do we say in the beginning of the Torah? The only way that you're able to come close to Hashem is through true tzaddikim, and the only way to find true tzaddikim is through holy boldness. That doesn't just mean finding a physical tzaddik, it also means tapping into the tzaddik within you, which is your godly soul. And you can only do that by breaking the desires of your body. And when you do that, as a result then, the true sage, meaning your godly soul, it then becomes the leader of the nation, the tzaddik of the generation, meaning the tzaddik of your body. Therefore, the nation then is synonymous with your flesh. Okay. And when they are attached to him, as the flesh of the body is to the man's bone, then they hear the sound of the sighing, the voice of the sage. That sighing, that crying is actually coming from that soul, from your soul. When you sigh to Hashem, when you cry to Hashem, when you pray intensely to Hashem, that sound is coming from your soul, whereas your desires are coming from your body. And that sound breaks the desires of your physical body. There you go. But listen to this. Listen to this.
This is unbelievable.
This is very important. And I experienced this as well. The kol havarahu, but there is a sound which is not a sound. It's an echo. It's not a sound,
It just bounces off in the rhythm.
but it's an echo. Because when this sound, this holy sound starts to go off in you, meaning you want to start doing tshuva, you start to cry to Hashem, you start to sigh to Hashem, you start to pray to Hashem, then as a result you hear an echo of that sound. Az mitorer minimenu kol the sitra achra. Because the voice of the sitra achra then starts to blare loud as well. Up until this point, you didn't hear the sound of the sitra achra, and you didn't hear the sound of your soul. But as soon as the sounds of your soul start to sound, then the sound of the sitra achra also starts to sound.
So it's like what you said before, that the hardest time to pray, or the hardest thing in the world to do is pray, because you're at war with your soul.
That's right. Beautiful. Very good. Where does this come from? Where is this echo coming from, which is interfering with my ability to hear these holy sounds or to register them? Right? Some people, they hear tzaddikim and they're not affected at all. Some people, they hear tzaddikim and their mom is drinking from his lips. What's the difference between the two? The first person is immersed in his desires, and the other person is purified himself.
Could be just that side doesn't connect with him.
Also, that's true. What happens when the sound, the holy sound, starts to register with you? You start to hear an echo. Where is that echo coming from? It's coming from all of the averot that you did in the past that are now being awakened, and they are countering the sound of your holy soul.
It's true.
Which is very scary.
Very scary. If that's the case, I'm deaf.
Because when you do an avera, you create a destroying angel, a destroying force, okay? But that destroying force doesn't attack you unless it's being threatened. You hear what I'm saying? So for years and years and years, we all have created these destroying angels, but none of them are manifest because they're all drinking in life force from our averot. However, as soon as we want to tap into our godly soul and come back to Hashem, they start to now awaken. And by nature, their mission is to destroy. Exactly.
Like it says in Sukkah 52b, the greater the man, the greater the Yitzhak.
Yes. Yes. A physical example I can give you of this. Let's say, for instance, I told you that you're very pure water. You are pure H2O.
Oh man.
So some guy's like, who cares? Because he's immersed in his taivas. Another guy is like, wow, I'm pure water. I feel filthy. I want to feel that water. So what do? You come to me and I teach you Rav Nachman's teachings. What's actually happening is I have placed you in a kettle, in a pot, and I put you on boiling hot fire. And what's happening is all of the impurities are rising to the top of the water. But only as time goes on, there are certain purities that can come up then. They can't all come up at one time. They come up over time. Yes. As it gets hotter.
So your mama has to go to Gehenna.
And then eventually when you reach a certain point, then it's all completely purified and you have pure water. So this is what every Baal Tshuva has to go through. This is the pasuk. It says, "Im avonenu anu banu Hashem aseh lema'an shemecha." Though our transgressions, they are bearing witness against us, Hashem, do it for your sake. What was Yirmiyah talking about? He's saying that our averot, which are now destroying forces, we're not able to overcome them even though we want to do tshuva. So do it for your sake. Help us for your sake. That's why the pasuk says someone sounds the shofar inside a pit. Meaning what? You're immersed in your taivas. That's called being in the pit. You place me in the lowest of pits. He sighed and the trumpets start to sound. You know something very interesting? According to Parsha, Sefer Bamidbar, it says there that when the enemies come to Israel and they attack you, you need to sound trumpets.
It confuses them.
Enemy infiltrate.
Right?
It breaks them. It does something negative to them.
When you blow your
So now if we realize that Klal Yisrael is you, and the enemies are your desires, the Torah is teaching you that when your enemies come, meaning your physical desires start to awaken for sex, for more food than you need, for excess, what do? Blow the trumpet, meaning holy sounds, crying, sighing, all these, and they throw off the enemy. You hear? It's a very beautiful thing we just said.
You ever heard the story of General Zhao?
Wait! I only heard of General Chow's chicken. I've never heard of General Zhao.
I didn't hear tonight. It was delicious.
Listen. Why? Because there are people who are in the category of flesh that they do not hear the sound of their own side because their body is very distant from their essence, from their soul, so that even the sound of their godly soul that it's crying and it's yearning, they don't hear it.
Now have 5 minutes.
We're going to talk tomorrow night about how do we accomplish getting our body to the level of hearing our soul. That our soul wants to connect to and attach itself to our body so that from our flesh I see God. We are going to discuss this tomorrow night. Do we have any questions about what we spoke about tonight?
The tshuva.
Yes.
How is a person supposed to do real complete tshuva if you're going to be outside for an hour a day, even if it's very impossible?
I don't understand the question.
How is a person going to do tshuva for an hour a day if it's impossible?
Who said it's impossible?
College students. They have no time to go outside.
They don't have time?
You have time to go to college, but not time to go.
I had more time in college than I had the rest of my life.
I have no time at all.
It's because you're in a real
Surf the
college.
web, dude.
I have a question.
I have no time at all.
The reason college students don't have time is because their flesh is very distant from their soul because they're deeply immersed in their taivas, not because they don't have time.
Well, if you took like 18, 21 credits, that's possible, you know? I mean,
If you go to college, you're probably very distant. Yes.
I came up with a good one.
Okay.
I don't know if it's written anywhere. Sorry. I don't know if it's written anywhere, but just like a, chokhmah bomb.
Yes.
So we said, oh, see what I'm saying? It was a chokhmah bomb. There's so much the
You're
camera could
destroying the
handle.
flesh of the phone.
Literally. Anyway, so we said from the flesh, I see Hashem.
Oh, another one. That's crazy.
Okay.